Zali Asumani, President of the Union of the Comoros, and Chairperson of the African Union Assembly of Heads of States and Government, Your Excellency President Issoufou Mahamadou, former President of the Republic of Niger, champion of the AFCFTA, Honorable Cabinet Secretary Moses Korea, Honorable Minister Chantal Nijimbere, representing the Council of Ministers, Honorable Ministers, leaders of the private sector, it is a pleasure to be here with you in Nairobi for the opening session of the retreat of the Council of Ministers. I want to start by thanking President Ruto and his government for hosting us here for a very important dialogue between the private sector and the Council of Ministers for the purpose of accelerating implementation of the AFCFTA. I want to also express appreciation for President Ruto's very strong support of the AFCFTA since he came into office, and for ensuring that the AFCFTA receives the highest level attention in Kenya. President Asumani, since he assumed the high office of Chairman of the Assembly of Heads of States and Government, made the AFCFTA his priority. I want to thank him also for his leadership. I went to see the President last month, and I said, President, we have a private sector dialogue in Nairobi in a few months, in a few weeks. Would you be able to attend? The President did not hesitate. He didn't say, when is it? He said, I will be there. And so I want to appreciate President Asumani's leadership and the recognition of the AFCFTA as a very important flagship project of the African Union. Your Excellencies, our heads of states, I'm often asked the question, how did you make so much progress in such a short space of time? And the answer I give is very, very simple. It is the fact that our leaders are fully engaged, and the fact that 47 members of the African Union have deposited their instruments of ratification demonstrates the strongest political will that we have ever seen in our continent. And so the leadership of our heads of states is what has enabled us to reach so much progress in a very, very short space of time, confounding critics who never thought that as Africans we would be able to achieve the milestones that we have achieved. Under the leadership of President Mahamadou Issoufou, we have achieved the following progress. Over 88% convergence on rules of origin, enabling Africa for the very first time since the end of colonialism to trade on the basis of a single set of rules for products that we as Africans produce. Rules of origin is beyond just the technical jargon, technical details of trade. The fact that we've been able to converge on such a high number of products enables and positions our continent for heightened and accelerated levels of industrial development, positions our continent for investment, so that we can see the results of this integrated market of 1.4 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 United States dollars. That's why this retreat is so important, Your Excellencies, to enable the private sector and the Ministers of Trade to conclude on the remaining areas of rules of origin, the automotive sector, textiles and clothing, to also focus on accelerated implementation of the systems, the custom systems that are required for the AFCFTA to see fruition. The private sector is absolutely critical to the implementation of the AFCFTA, as Cabinet Secretary said. In Africa, the private sector is estimated to account for about 80% of total production, 67% of investment, 75% of credit that's available in the market, and of course employs 90% of people of working age. To further underscore the importance of the private sector and why this dialogue is so critical, a study by McKinsey & Company and the Brookings Institute, they estimate that the annual spending by African consumers and businesses is set to reach almost 7 trillion United States dollars by the year 2030, which is an increase from 4 trillion United States dollars from 2015. This underscores the importance of the private sector as a driver for industrial development in Africa, a driver for creating opportunities for jobs for young Africans, and of course, for innovation. The automotive sector and the textiles and clothing sector are the two remaining areas, as I mentioned, where we need to conclude in the next few days. A study by the World Economic Forum estimates opportunities available under the value chain of the automotive sector. They estimate as follows: that the automotive industry in Africa is expected to grow to more than $42 billion by the year 2027 due to increasing domestic demand, rising incomes, and high projections of growth on the basis of intra-Africa trade and the AFCFTA. In the area of agriculture, another important area, the World Economic Forum estimates that intra-Africa trade in basic agricultural products is expected to increase by 574% by the year 2030, where tariffs are eliminated in trade in agricultural products. These are some of the very encouraging projections of what we as Africans can achieve, where we aggressively implement the AFCFTA, liberalize trade amongst ourselves, and ensure that we create opportunities for young Africans. As you may be aware, last year we commenced the Guided Trade Initiative, and I'm most grateful that I had the opportunity to be here in Kenya, in Nairobi last year, when Kenya was flagging off, myself and His Excellency President Ruto flagged off value-added agricultural produce, tea, that was exported from Kenya to West Africa. I often say that this is a remarkable story of how smallholder farmers who produce the tea are now part of the story of successful implementation of the AFCFTA, a story of inclusion of smallholder farmers who are now driving intra-Africa trade. And so I congratulate the government of Kenya for organizing smallholder farmers to be able to benefit from the AFCFTA. Similarly, we saw products that were exported from Egypt to Ghana, from Cameroon, Tunisia, and other countries. And so this year, our objective is to increase the number of countries that are part of the Guided Trade Initiative, increase the products on the basis of rules of origin of the AFCFTA. As I mentioned, Your Excellencies, the AFCFTA has corrected a long-standing anomaly, and that is that when West Africa trades with East Africa, or North Africa trades with Southern Africa, before the entry into force of the AFCFTA, we were trading on the basis of the so-called MFN rules. In other words, there was no preferential treatment of Africans trading amongst ourselves. Therefore, the AfCFTA is an opportunity for us to correct this anomaly, to accelerate and boost intra-Africa trade, to create opportunities for investment, for jobs, innovation on our continent. As I conclude, let me once again thank our leaders who are here with us today, who are here to provide us with a fresh mandate, new directives, as we accelerate implementation of the AfCFTA. President Ruto and I, we were joking that we should share my salary because the president is a very, very strong supporter of the AfCFTA, and wherever he goes, he's an advocate of the AfCFTA. And so we're very, very fortunate to have our leaders with us, President Assoumani, the leader of the African Union, and of course, President Mahamadou Issoufou, ever present in the support of the AfCFTA. And so I wish all of us very, very good deliberations over the next few days. And once again, I want to thank the government and the people of Kenya for hosting us. We look forward to the discussions, look forward to engagement with the private sector so that we jointly can undertake this very, very noble ambition, very, very noble task of integrating our continent, creating opportunities for young Africans, creating opportunities for investment, and positioning our continent for global competitiveness through industrial development in generations and decades to come. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, for these remarks and assuring the private sector of their role in the implementation of the AfCFTA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for those who are following the meeting in French, make sure you tune to Channel 2. For those who are following in English, please tune to Channel 1. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is a man who's been spearheading the AfCFTA process right from its inception. We have here with us the champion of the AfCFTA, His Excellency Mahamadou Issoufou, who is the former president of Niger. It's now my honor to invite His Excellency for his remarks.
Excellence William Ruto, président de la République du Kenya, hôte de la retraite ministérielle.
And high delegates, Your Excellency Azali Assoumani, President of Comoros Union and the President of the African Union, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, dear ministers, Secretary General of Africa Free Trade Area, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy in this presidential briefing and of the opening of this ministerial retreat in Nairobi, here in Kenya. And I thank the spirit of democracy that has allowed dear brother Ruto, your leader that you elected, the president of this beautiful country, I seize this opportunity to renew my warm Congratulations to you, sir. And I am happy of that June 1st, your country will be celebrating 60th anniversary to its accession to international sovereignty, results of the battle that the founding fathers fought, i.e., the former president Jomo Kenyatta. May their battle, determination, and Pan-Africanism service be an example to African generations now and in the future. I also do congratulate and greet my friend Azali Assoumani, President of Comoros, President in interim for the Union African, for his leadership at the head of our organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the 60th anniversary of the independence of Kenya is in line, coincides with African Union. And how else could we, if not to choose this date in the exercise of the free trade area in Africa? We can consider this as a form of an eloge to the founding fathers who had in their spirit that trade, and not only as something for prosperity and economics, but also a factor for peace. And so the free area in Africa is one of the tools that will help to realize many projects in our Agenda 2063. I have chosen this time to say this is time to put end to fratricide wars in Sudan that is coming to add into the list of the conflicts we know in Africa, in Sahel region, in Chad Basin, in Libya, in Somalia, in the Great Lake region. Trade and peace are very well connected, intertwined in fact. And so I congratulate and thank the efforts of the Minister of Health for solving every matters in line with this free area trades, in particular that of the origins of goods. Dear ministers, you are not only workers in peace, but also messengers of peace. Your contributions to the realization of the Africa we want is highly appreciated. I congratulate you and encourage you in this work. And this meeting is an occasion for you to deepen the reflections on mechanisms to undergo in order to continue with the works, in order to have the initiative of the commerce services in the second phase, and to answer to the various challenges that may arise in the implementation of free area trade in Africa. To find a convergence and to conclude on the origin rules related to automobiles and textile. And I want to remind ourselves that June 2023 is the limit, is the date that was fixed by the heads of states in order to reach that goal, to finalize and to operationalize the customs services amongst countries, and to finish with other matters that were suspended in 5 priority sectors of our services, like during the recent meeting of the free area trade meeting that was organized in South Africa. We do then have an adequate platform in Nairobi where political leaders, leaders of industries and companies, and leaders in the private sectors and investors can together share on the special role that each and everyone should play in order to have the Africa Free Areas trade from negotiation to action. This will allow the growth of intra-African trade and stimulate intra-African investment and put in place means to overcome the challenges that Africa is facing or has been facing over the years, especially in the area of trade and economical troubles. Ladies and gentlemen, I will want to thank the visible will of the member states present, expressed through the progressive validation of national and regional strategies of the implementation of the Africa Free Area Zone. And with this, I want to congratulate the East African community, which has organized from the beginning of the month of January, a validation workshop for the implementation of Africa Free Area Zone. And this shows that we are on the right track. However, we should continue to be focused on our objectives, on our goals, because there is so much to achieve, particularly states. States are called to continue in the service and sending their dues to the secretariat for the technical aspects and the notifications to the remaining stages. We need them to congratulate the 47 member states that have ratified the protocol, and we call that every other country in the continent should participate and share in the advantages of this regime called the Free Area Zone in Africa, Africa Free Area Zone. Let me thank once more the Republic of Kenya for being one of the pioneer countries of the initiatives of this trade, of this as a platform that was launched last October. Kenya has demonstrated legal frameworks, and which is something to congratulate through various transactions, importation and exportation in the preferential regime of Africa Free Area Trade. This exercise has allowed to have informations on the states, preparations of the legal frameworks and institutional at national levels in the participating countries to help the private sector to participate in trade in the spirit of Africa Free Area Zone trade, and also for better treatment as planned by this platform. To identify the future interventions in order to grow intra-African trade and maximize the advantages of this Africa Free Area Zone trade. Ladies and gentlemen, our continent really needs more than before an inclusive economical platform, a market open as Africa Free Area Trade Zone. This will allow free circulation of services and goods, and this will contribute to a quick growth of our economies and put end to things like plagues like food insecurity. Food insecurity and malnutrition in Africa have reached their highest level possible for the last 10 years. Since the last 10 years, West Africa and Central Africa remain to be the most affected regions. And the research revealed that the combined efforts with COVID-19, climate change, has really increased the challenges in food security, and many are facing hunger in the region. According to the food security analysis of March 2023, the numbers of people who do not have regular access to good balanced diet is about 48 million during this period. June, August 2023 will be that within that period of time. It is therefore a great challenge that we can overcome through the Africa Free Area Trade Zone with concrete solutions are put in place and immediate actions to ensure change on all over the continent. This matter is a call. It is a call for the necessity to put in place a detailed plan for the development of agriculture in Africa. This will allow the exploitation of great arable land in the continent that has not yet been used. It is clear that the implementation of Africa Free Trade Area Zone will produce secondary effects like loss of revenue in the processes of the in the process of freeing the tariffs, and so there is need to adjust. And this was put in place and implemented in March 2023 in Rwanda, which was the host country. And this tool is here to help the private sector to adapt to the new commercial environmental aspect in line with the memorandum of understanding of the Africa Free Trade Zone, with the $10 billion that was put in place for the next 10 years for the fund to be fully operational. Afreximbank Bank has already pledged to work on this, and so the minister should work on it, on the mechanism of sensitization of resources, resource mobilization, and to evaluate the laws of wealth in various countries and what will be affected. And this is again a call to all member states to continue working for the well-being of the domestication of Africa Free Trade Area Zone protocol and its annexes. I call then all of us to put in place strategies and policies, business trade policies that will allow the private sector in various countries to benefit of the preferential regime of Africa Free Area Trade. Our continent is the new frontier of the economic development with high potentiality, the youth and the national resources. We got the means of its emergence, and the Africa Free Trade Area Zone is one of the tools that can contribute into this. It is our mission. It is your mission, especially ministers of commerce and trade. I wish you a fruitful session and that you will be able to fulfill the target for the well-being of our continent. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence, Monsieur le Champion.